4 years ago, I played against Andrea Botez. And no, this was not some faceless chess.com match. This was an actual competitive chess tournament. This was the Canadian Open, the tournament of the year. Albeit, it was played in a very small town, very remote in Ontario, Canada. I had to fly there, first playing alone in my life. Now, I won't lie, usually before the match of a tournament, you talk with your opponent, but no, we were both very shy, so we spoke the only language we knew. The morning of the match, we both take our seats after noticing the pairings, and usually you're supposed to, small talk with your opponent, of which we did nothing. We were both very shy, and we spoke the only language that we know, which was chess. So here's the chess game that we played. Since you guys hit 50 likes on a video that happened 5 months ago on a comment that I would promise this match to be shown, here it is. 50 likes were achieved. Thank you so much for 50,000 subs. In this game, I had the black pieces against Andrea Botez. At the time, I was rated 1966 and Andrea was rated 1887. This is in the summer of 2017. Andrea starts off with d4, to which I go d5, classic response, and now bishop f4. This usually tells me that a London system is brewing in the distance. To which I go e6. The reason is I want to trade off this London bishop. She goes back to g3, to which I go knight f6, develop my pieces and castle quick. Now bishop d3, and now I go c5, kind of this aggressive Tarrasch-esque push. c3, and now b6, solidify my pawn with a pawn. Knight d2, and now her London is complete. This is typical. The reason why I didn't take this bishop on g3 is that h takes g3, and now I can run into some trouble with this double attack on my h7 pawn on my castle, and eventually some knight g5 things, which are quite scary. So I never took that bishop there and played bishop e7, really patient castles, and now knight e4. Knight e4, placing a centralized knight in the center, and you see here the follow-up with f5. f5, defending my knight twice in the center, really solidifying it on that square. Bishop takes d6, and here actually a very funny thing happened. I was taking up my queen to take the bishop, and the queen fell out of my hand. And my immediate reaction, like this was like not planned or anything, of course, I just said, "Oi!" I said, "Oi!" like very loud in the middle of a room of 200 chess players playing silently. I don't know if you've been to a tournament, but you're usually not supposed to say something out loud, and I said "oi," which kind of took her off her guard as well, and she laughed and I laughed, and it was a very funny moment. And so I finally take this bishop on d6, knight e5, very nice knight here, and now I try to pressure it with knight c6, attacking this knight, and she solidifies her knight on e5 with knight f3, very good moves. Here I play rook e8, which is a terrible move. I don't know why I played this. It really has no use, and my rook does not get an improvement whatsoever. It remains a passive piece, so I don't know why I played that. Super big mistake. Queen e2, I don't know why she played this. I really don't. Maybe she was threatening some bishop e5 things. Anyways, I just say, let's keep her bishop barricaded into this pawn structure. And here I play b5. And my idea here is to do a pawn storm and tear up her queen side by opening up the b file. Here she plays takes, to which I take back on c6, and now bishop takes e4. D takes e4, and now we can see how sad my bishop is. If we were in an endgame with just this knight and this bishop and all the pawns are still there, this would be completely winning for the white pieces, because this knight would come in on e5 as done, and this bishop would be super, super passive in its own position, barricaded, right, imprisoned by its own pawn structure. A bishop behind a pawn structure is so, so bad, you guys, especially when that pawn structure is of the same colored squared of this light squared bishop, which is the case here. And this just shows how sad this bishop is, how much of a glorified pawn this bishop is right here. a4, trying to open up this a file with rook takes a7, to which I have to close it down with b4. b4, I'm trying to do a5 here to reinforce this pawn, all about the pawn rush, and here a5. Now I go on with a secondary plan. a5 stopped my a5 as well, so I go rook b8. And the reason behind rook b8 is that I want to open up this b file and infiltrate on this b3 square that is defended by this pawn on c4, which means having this key square here on b3 is super helpful to invading the b file. And this is what I execute to almost perfection, I would say. Rook a4, trying to pressure this c4 pawn on the condition that I were to take, to which I defend this in advance, and now queen d2. Rook b5 has a double idea here. Here I want to double these rooks on the b file for when I open this b file with b takes c3, and I want to potentially attack this weak pawn on a5. Guess what I do? Oh, she plays f3 first. I should comment on this. f3 is a very good move, actually. It's a good idea by Andrea. She wants to open up this f file for her rook and essentially get some counterplay going on this near empty king side, to which I take on f3, really closing down this f file for good, and now I play rook cb8. Really, I'm trying to open up this b file. Rook a2, and now I take on c3. B takes, and now this file is finally open for business. This rook a2 move was terrible a couple moves ago. I really hate it. It just makes a rook very passive, even though it does the function of defending this b2 square, my infiltration square. It doesn't mean that that square is not to be infiltrated for the rest of the game. It just means I'll change my infiltration square to b1. And here I play rook b1, to which queen c2 really scared my rook, so I just went back to b3. This really doesn't hurt my position. I'm still knocking on the door of this weakness on c3. And I'm keeping this b file for the taking, a nice file that I own. e4 here, very good move by Andrea, forcing takes and bishop back, to which we just see how bad my bishop is. Has no squares, it's very passive, and here it's laying on a8, to which it will be super passive like this for the rest of the game until the very end, really. And so here, rook f7. Rook f7 is Andrea's first mistake in this game. It's not a good move, actually. Despite it looking like it's very good, rook on the 7th rank, I say this often, is a very, very strong piece. This rook doesn't really attack anything, and more so it's hindering her position because this rook relies heavily on the defense by her knight, which means these pieces stay frozen like this for a period of time that you'll see in the next moves. And so here immediately I see that she stops taking up this b1 square, and I play rook b1. It needs to be played at this moment in the game. If you play rook f1, you're just telling me, you know what, rook f7 is a mistake. You're admitting to a mistake. So she plays king g2, and this is a mistake. You should have played rook f1. And here, there's only one winning move in this entire position, and I'm very proud that I found it. It's a very tough move to find. It's a silent move, so it's not like this big idea with a ton of sacrifices. Black to play and win. Try to find the idea first. If you do, I think it'll be easier to find the move that I played, which was queen d8. And this is a very soft move, very light move, but it has a deadly threat. And here I'm trying to play queen g5. Queen g5 check, exposing this king that is completely out in the open and further exposing her position. Now, these little positional mistakes that added up over time are really exposed here. This rook on f7 being near useless and being the dependency of this knight, because this knight cannot go back here for reinforcements to take up this g5 square. It is neutralized on this e5 square. This rook that we said was passive to cover this b2 square could really be used on this first rank to defend, and my rook on b1 is very much profiting off of that very passive rook. This queen is passive for two reasons. First of all, defending this b2 square and having to defend this e4 pawn that my bishop has been stabbing at for a period of time now. And I would even add here that this queen is overloaded, having to defend too many things, and this has effect right now on queen d2 defending this lethal queen g5 threat, but also giving this pawn on e4. Now this wasn't the best move. I could have also played this silent queen h4 move, still threatening bishop takes e4, and even better now because now the king would have no squares and a lot of material would have to be given here. And so bishop takes e4 check, king g3, and now this was a bad move. I'm not gonna lie to you. I think king h3 was a little bit better. I saw this during the game. Simply put, I don't have any checks here, and so it's a bit harder to make a convincing attack, but on king g3 on the other hand gives this very game deciding check. It's a very critical check. My rook is not only already infiltrated in her position, but is now established. This rook is super strong on g1 with check. King f4, I mean, she doesn't have really many options at this point. King f2 would give rook g2 check, which is a skewer, winning the queen for the rook. And king h3, there would be bishop f5, mimicking checkmate and forcing her to give up the exchange in a very lucrative position. And so after king f4, can you find the follow-up? Here I played the only real valuable check, queen h4 check, defending my bishop and laying on check on this king while brewing a mating net. And after king e3, the mating net is ready to go, and we have rook e1 check. Rook e1, mimicking checkmate. Again, your only move is either to block with the queen, giving the queen, or giving the queen. To which she gives the queen, takes back some material, she wins back the bishop, but here after a nice little combination of moves, rook d8 to attack the weakness, forcing a defense that is very losing, because now we have rook takes d7, decoying this knight off of d3, and now after knight takes d7, queen d3 check, forking the king and rook and winning the rook and the game, and here she resigned. Thank you so much for watching, and thank you again for 50,000 subs on the channel. I'm not crying, I really just had an itch there. Thank you so much for validating my passion for the game and my clips. I really appreciate it. I hope you have an awesome day, and thank you for making mine. I ended up winning 250 points of my Canadian rating, and I think 50 points off my provincial rating, which is much stronger than my Canadian rating. And this was overall a really good tournament. I ended up checking the standings, the final standings, and I ended up, of this 9-round tournament, I told you, it's not a joke, it was a big tournament. I ended up with 5 out of 9, which is pretty good. And Andrea didn't have a bad tournament herself. She ended up with 4.5 out of 9, which is 50%. So for us two, playing in a very large section of under 2,200, we did really well.